Hi, today we're going to be looking at a simple but important maintenance task for your car, and that's bleeding your brakes. Maybe over time your brakes have gotten a little too squishy, they're not quite as firm as they used to be, or maybe you've recently done some service to the vehicle that's introduced some air into the brake lines that needs to be bled out. In this case, we're looking at a 2005 Chevy Corvette where we just recently replaced the ABS module, and while we were servicing the ABS module, we introduced some air into the system, and now we need to bleed the brakes. So there's just a few simple tools and materials you'll need for this. We've got some brake fluid. You want to make sure that the master cylinder reservoir is topped off before you start bleeding fluid through your system. Otherwise, if it runs dry, you're just going to start bleeding air into your system. And then we need to lift the car and remove the tire to access the brake caliper. And we have a few pieces of equipment here. We just have a simple wrench. This is a 10 millimeter in this case for accessing the bleeder screw, which you can see right here. Usually it has a cap on it just like this. And we have a clear plastic hose attached to that bleeder valve. And the reason why we have this hose here is so that we can see what air is coming out of the hose. We can direct the fluid to a safe reservoir to store that old brake fluid to be discarded, and then also so that while we are bleeding the brakes, air is not allowed to enter back into the system via the bleeder valve, because we have an additional reservoir of brake fluid on the other side of the bleeder valve here. And there's several ways you can do this. I'm going to demonstrate the most common way. For this, you'll need a buddy who's going to. There's my buddy, my wife over there, and your buddy who's going to actuate the foot pedal for your brake. Press the brake up and down to help you bleed your brakes, and we'll demonstrate that right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open the valve, and then I'm going to ask my buddy to press down on the foot pedal. So open the valve, press the pedal down. Then we're going to close the valve and ask our buddy to let the foot pedal slowly return to its normal state. And that will, when they push the pedal down, that will force fluid and air through the system, out the bleeder valve, along with whatever air is trapped in the system. And when they let the pedal return, that's going to pull new fluid from the master cylinder into the brake system. Sometimes you might want them to pump the pedal a little bit if your brakes are really weak. So you make sure that the pedal doesn't go down too quickly. And you absolutely never want them to allow the pedal to return while you have the valve open, because that may draw air back into the system. With this hose, that shouldn't be possible, but that's not going to help you bleed your system if you're pulling that same fluid back into your system. And then one final note is that you always want to bleed your system starting with the longest line first, and typically your master cylinder reservoir is on the driver's side in the front of your car. So you'd start with the passenger side rear wheel, then the driver's side rear wheel, then third you would do the passenger side front wheel, and finally you do the driver's side front wheel. So let's go ahead and demonstrate that process here. I'm going to put my plastic hose on the bleeder valve here. And I'm ready to open the valve with my 10 millimeter wrench. So I'm going to open the valve, press the pedal down. You can see that fluid there and a couple little air bubbles coming out. I'm going to close the valve up. She's allowing that pedal to return. I'm going to open the valve down. There's some more fluid and some more air. You can see those air bubbles in that plastic hose right there. At least I hope you can see it on the video. I've closed the valve. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And we're seeing very small air bubbles now, almost no bubbles at all. And you're never going to get just perfectly clear fluid, but you should be able to get close to it. We'll do just a couple more passes here. Down, up, down, up. And that last pass, there was virtually no air bubbles trapped in the tube there. So this caliper has been successfully bled. We need to recheck our reservoir, top off our brake fluid so we're not running that reservoir dry, replace the wheel, and then move on to the fourth wheel, which would be the driver's side front wheel. Well, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments, and I'll do my best to help. Thanks.